If you find yourself regularly dating people or around friends that they show up and they don't show up, they commit, they don't commit, you don't feel heard or connected to, the relationship's very much about them and not about you, this is going to be for you. And it's helpful. Knowing where it comes from, knowing where it came from, seeing the signs of how it manifests helps you go inside yourself to not abandon yourself and not be unavailable to yourself, which then changes everything around you. I'm Zalman Nelson. Welcome to the channel. I'm an online therapist. I help people upgrade their relationship with themselves, which then naturally, automatically helps them upgrade their relationships with everybody else around them. So let's get into it. Emotionally unavailable is like this repeating pattern of people. It manifests in different ways, but you can't rely on them. There's that feeling, I don't really know what I'm going to get from this person. I don't really know how they're going to show up. There's a sense that when is the other shoe going to drop kind of a thing. They're messaging you, and then just drop off the face of the earth at times. And before you start to work on it, before it gets more clear to you, there's a part of you, or many people go through this. I'm just going to say you because you clicked on the video, so I'm assuming that you're connecting with it. But initially, we don't even think to work on this issue or many of our issues because it feels normal. This is inner child trauma. This is things we grew up with as a kid that were hurtful to us, but that becomes what's normal, what we grew up with, what we responded to. And so here we are as an adult, same pattern. Typically, I start working with people, then they're at a point, or they reach out to message me and they go, I keep getting this same pattern over and over and over again. What's going on? And the work then is about, okay, wait a minute, you're the one constant in all of us, so let's take a look at you. And that's helpful. I think people at that point are like rock bottom. They just want to break out of it. And they're open to hear it. It's not an attack, it's not a criticism, but it's a refocus rather than being a victim. I can't break out of this, I can never change this. It's like, well, what's with me? It's the one thing I control is working on myself. So let's start taking a look at ourselves, that we keep attracting the same type of person. And by the way, attraction is really fascinating. It's a parentheses, but a lot of people say, what's wrong? I attract the wrong types over and over again. I would say differently. I would say your attraction system is perfect. It's regularly and consistently attracting the types of people into your life that the system's aimed at. We will attract and be attracted to people, whether we're aware of it or subconsciously, people that are going to create a dynamic with us that's very familiar. As we name the feelings that come up around them, we'll realize that plenty of memories from childhood had the same feelings in it, had the same dynamics. It's a repeat of an old pattern in order to help us work through it, but it'll drive us nuts until we actually really start to work through it. And so our attraction system is perfect. It's just attuned to the wrong way. So that's why we do this work. We look inside. What are the patterns around me, the type of people I'm typically around? How do I often feel, when the person goes AWOL and stops texting me and they're just not around, not available? I'm trying to talk and connect. They're not hearing me. They're not available to me physically. They're not available emotionally. How is it that I then feel? And we go, wow, this is really familiar. So, and then as we change that, as we change our relationship to ourselves, we keep showing up, tuning in, connecting, learning more about what we're feeling, being curious, naming the feelings that we see, developing our own emotional vocabulary so we can really accurately name the feelings that are present in those abandoning and unavailable type moments that we're getting from the partner. In that way, we stop being unavailable to ourselves. We start tuning in and connecting more. And then what happens is that being around emotionally unavailable people who are physically just not available and they're not around, that becomes less and less okay, less and less comfortable. And then we're able to start to break away from it. But let's talk a little bit, just get some insight, because if you'll take moments in which you experience your emotional, the person being emotionally unavailable, and then the question is, you're in the early stages, you're going to be very focused on them, what they're doing, what they're saying, what they're not doing, what they're not saying. Why won't they? If only. How come? I wish. Why don't they get it? Why don't they change? In those moments, you're hyper focused on the other person, desperately trying to get them to come back. But my question is really, and this is the shifting point, instead of being that kind of victim, this is happening to me, and it's happening for me. What can I learn from this? How do I feel in those moments? And that's where we really start to connect to ourselves, not abandon ourselves, not be unavailable to ourselves. Parenthetically, just to think about this, the things that you notice yourself wanting and needing from people around you, the starting point is to start to give it to yourself. It may be a little challenging to figure, well, how do I do that to myself? How do I listen to myself, hear myself? How do I become available? How to be consistent with myself? But this is the work of tuning in. But so it's this idea that that's what's normal. And as you have those moments in which you experience the person being emotionally unavailable, it's like, well, okay, let me get the focus back on me. How do I feel? When I become more aware of how I feel, and I use a list of feelings to tune in and build my vocabulary and really connect, very often memories will come up of times we felt similar. So for this particular person I was helping, grew up with two parents, alcoholics, who are very self-absorbed. And I would say a lot of people are self-absorbed, not necessarily narcissistic before we give that label. I would say a lot of people are self-absorbed. I think it's this natural feature in a lot of people. Some people are hypersensitive, focused on others. Some people are self-absorbed and consumed. Both of them have issues that need to be dealt with. Very often that's who pairs up. The sensitive, giving person who's selfless and doesn't take care of themselves, throwing themselves at people, with the other people very self-consumed, self-absorbed. But why are people self-absorbed? Is they have wounds. They have emotional wounds and damage. They have their own childhood that they grew up with. And they're still carrying those wounds with them into the relationship. And this is what happens. Two people get together and they're connecting on the surface, but both of them have brought a kid with them into the relationship, an emotional kid. The wounds, the baggage, the damage, the hurts. If as that comes up, automatically it comes up in a relationship, you'll also tend to that and tune into it. Not just give your partner feedback, then the relationship will be successful. So in this case, it was two alcoholic parents, very self-absorbed, very self-consumed. And so we're the parents, and I'm not calling out, not blaming parents, it's just insight. So where the parents are like that, they're very self-absorbed or consumed or stuck within themselves in the hopes that they'll heal, but very often they're just absorbed in themselves. So the kid is not being tended to. You see, when a child comes into the world, the parents should be naturally tending to the kid because the kid can't speak. A baby is helpless and defenseless, completely dependent. So you're tuning in and trying to get a sense, is the baby hungry? Is the baby in a diaper change, not feeling well, teething? What's going on over there? That's a parent trying to be sensitive and tuned in. On one hand, it's, many didn't get that, because that then continues where the parents are then tuned in emotionally or connected or trying to be there for the child. It's amazing, though, parents who didn't get that but then do it for their kids. But in this case, that was the situation. So what that then creates is a child who learns to be sensitive to the parents, looking to the parents, trying to get the needs and wants met. On the one hand, it creates a massive superpower. These are your sensitive people, very sensitive types, very tuned in, empathic, very aware. They're very used to climbing into people's minds and hearts to figure out what they think and feel. You have to tune that back and pull that back, but it's very much a strength of theirs. They're very sensitive and tuned in. It can be very easy to be around them, but it has a dark side. Until they work through it, they don't have the boundaries. They don't do self-care. They haven't learned to value themselves. And so they're throwing themselves at people for that kind of sense of validation. If I make you happy, then you'll be happy with me, and then I can feel happy with myself. But it feels normal, natural to, on the one hand, completely ignore self, put it on the side, and then totally give myself over to somebody else. That feels normal and natural. The healing is to go to the opposite extreme. That's selflessness to an extreme. The healing is to go to the opposite extreme for a while, really tending to self, prioritizing self, getting to know what it feels like to be the top priority in your own life. Feeling that I don't feel selfish, but when you're too far to one extreme, you've got to go to the opposite extreme and spend some time there getting to know it. And then you can work your way back to a balance point. And these people will always be 90-10, 80-20, 70-30, 60-40, giving way more than they get back. And that's fine as long as they get back something, as long as their partners meet them somewhat halfway, because they truly, deeply enjoy giving and being there for other people. So, but that pattern feels familiar. So that's the emotionally unavailable home and situation. Then you go to school and you are attracted to people and situations that have that same dynamic to it, and it feels normal. And so fast forward to adulthood, it's this uncanny way in which a person attracts and is attracted to partners that leave them feeling the exact same way. And the person goes, yeah, this is normal. But it gets to a point where if you're going to start to heal and you have the courage to face it, you go, I don't like this. This is not working for me. I need it to change. And that's where the healing can really start and can begin. Still, it's hard because we're really addicted to being around that type of energy. And it's pretty deep. It's a hard one. Let's talk about for a second how addiction plays into emotions for a sec. The emotionally unavailable person is like a gambling addiction, and a gambling addiction is one of the most difficult addictions to work with because of intermittent reinforcement. Gambling doesn't pay off every single time. It's not like if I take a drink, I know how I'm going to feel from that drink in 20 minutes. I take a Tylenol, I know how I'll feel in 20 minutes. I'm going to get the effect every single time, more or less. Gambling, you lose, you lose, you win. You lose, you lose, you lose, you lose, you lose, you win. You win, you lose, win. You never know exactly. It's very random. And that's what happens when you're on the receiving end of being around parental figures, friends in school, teachers, and just throughout your life, that kind of, you never know what you're going to get, when you're going to get it. You're never going to know what kind of mood are they going to show up with, how they're going to react. And so it's very difficult. And so that the clients are very often like almost addicted to being around that type of person and it feeling normal. And so the work is about being there for yourself and tuning into yourself, to go from victim mentality to empowered and tuning into how you feel in these various moments. And that starts to shift and change things, because that literally is you were around unavailable people and now you're starting to be available to yourself. I was triggered when you were unavailable, or you disappeared off the face of the map, or your mood suddenly shifted and changed on me. How did I feel? We get the focus back on ourselves. That's a doable task. Here's my chart. Go down the list. What was I feeling in that moment? That's doable. And you do that again and again and again. 30 seconds here, a minute there, a little bit each day. You're then showing up for yourself, being consistent. What's the opposite of emotionally unavailable? Available, consistent. So by showing up for yourself that way, you start to know your worth, your value. You are treating yourself as valid and worthy. You're worth the time to tune into what you feel. And then slowly by slowly, getting such unavailable treatment doesn't feel comfortable, normal, or okay anymore. In this case, the client went back to the parents and did some real great work about really distancing and backing off and realizing what had gone on in the dynamic as they were trying to change the way they were treating themselves. And that then translated into a current relationship that was way better than any of the other emotional unavailable relationships that they had been in. But this particular one was better, that there was more connection, there was more communication, but it was a lot of words without actions following it up. And so it was difficult to determine, it was difficult to tell. But that became the key then, really, to break out of the situation, to use this last relationship to really be aware, and to say, like, okay, there may be some good things in a partner. Some people have a hard time letting go of a partner because there's some good aspects to it. And the key to dealing with that is to say, wait a minute. Everyone I've been with, all of my partners have taught me things I like and things I don't like, things I want more of and things I want to avoid. And that's the work. So you can separate that from a particular partner. This partner overall is a sum negative and bad for me. There's a few things I learned from them that I liked, being around them. I enjoyed it, and I definitely want to look forward in future partners. And of course, there are things I don't like and didn't work for me, and I want to make sure that I avoid. And that way you can start to step aside and step away, becoming less and less comfortable. And then that whole attraction system starts to shift. Instead of it being normal and familiar to be around emotionally unavailable people, you're now showing up for you and being there for you and connecting to you and reparenting yourself and tuning into what you feel and being there. The stuff you always needed, you're now getting. And so it becomes less and less comfortable, normal to have those types of people to be around them who are emotionally unavailable. And you need them less. Either we face our stuff, our parts, the emotions that come up and the unmet needs underneath, and we start to meet it by showing up for ourselves, or we're going to keep being attracted to people that will come into our lives and put us in touch with those feelings. It's one or the other. But it happens naturally. So as you yourself are meeting those needs, you have less and less of a need to be around those types of people. And so now your attraction system shifts. It's a great system. It's just we have to change our relationship to ourselves, and then we can attract better people into our life. So if I work through those parts of myself that need my attention, I don't need people coming into my life being emotionally unavailable so I can feel the feelings and be in that dynamic and be around them like that. I don't need it because I've worked on it and I'm working through it. Now my attraction system, that's really good, starts to shift and change, and you get better and better at identifying the bad types and saying no, and you are better and better at identifying the good types that come into your life, and you're attracting more of those good types with that system. So it starts with being emotionally available to yourself. So hit me up in the comments if you have questions about it, you want to talk about this. Give a subscribe to the channel. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your support. Likes are always welcome, but especially shares. There's either you or you're listening and you're thinking about somebody in your life that really needs to hear it. Give them a share or share it with them. Thanks for being here, and I'll talk more soon.